Okay. So, all right, guys, welcome back to the Raised Hunting Podcast. I'm joined today by Warren and Easton, who are at it again today. So bear with us. Like I said, I do this typically when I walk into a room. I'll just say, I'm sorry, and that covers everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys today I'm sorry, and I've covered everything that they may or may not do. So, Warren, do you have your shout-outs you want to do today? Because apparently we had lots of people tuned into last week's podcast.
I had a lot of people like texting me about it more so than normal.
Gotcha.
Jake Zetz should have sent us in another story.
He's our only story.
Oh, okay. So that you're doing his?
He's our last one. Garrett was going to be our last one, but this guy sent his in later to you, I guess.
Good job,
Actually,
Jake.
he sent it to me too, and I accidentally didn't open his message. I don't open. I'm really bad about my own personal account, so I'm sorry, Jake. Good thing you got a hold of Warren.
Did you see the deer?
He sent an email, and my email when I get pictures is like zoomed in on an eyeball, so I just saved it and threw it in the folder. I haven't got a look yet.
It's a tanker. You want to
Warren's
see it
got
now?
And I can't get to it because it's. Oh goodness!
Yeah, it's a tanker.
What is it?
Let me
Does
see.
he not have an
Shout out
eye
to
guard on the
Jake.
right?
Holy.
I can't promise that I'll be able to give this
G3
photo.
is like 13.
He reminds me of the Big 8.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be able to give this photo to Nick to pop on the screen because I'm locked out of Google Drive. That's where I keep them all.
I can send it to you.
There you go. Warren will send it to you so you guys can see too. Okay,
Yeah.
shout outs though. That was not where we're supposed to be going with that.
Well, I wanted to make sure I didn't forget it. Okay, so thank you all for all the congrats. There's a whole bunch of congrats. Northern Hillbilly Adventures. Shout out to him. User TY5LM50J1X. Love the podcast. I do a lot of traveling for work, and I listen to the podcast every time. We appreciate you, user TY5LM50J1X.
You're on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
Are our Spotify and Apple people still slacking like no other?
They're listening, but they ain't doing
And
much.
commenting.
Eric Robards, 1209. Shout out to you, brother. David Harrison, 9731, of course. He said he would definitely be placing an order very soon. He said, congrats to me. Appreciate it. Said, love y'all. I've read your books. And amazing, by the way, and I always look forward to the podcast every week. I'm itching to hunt. Told the wife, Amy Harrison, last night, 4 months and counting until hunting season. Bucky Doe Downer said, congrats to me and Alyssa. Thank you, Bucky Doe Downer. Eric S. _007 _ he must be an agent.
Bond.
He
James
said,
Bond.
congrats, Warren. Easton, thanks for using my wacky fact. Pretty disappointed it got the red buzzer. You asshole. I agree,
You know-
Eric.
you know
He's
what
an
sucks about that?
Asshole.
You were the one that voted red. Warren said this is a crappy one.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you said that you already knew it, which is saying something because you don't know much.
Yeah, so that's just a warning.
William.
If you guys are thinking about sending in wacky facts, do send them in because we love reading them. But we're going to treat you the same as we treat each of us. You might get the buzzer. You might get
tough.
but you may not. You may
You may
the.
get a.
Dad gave up already.
No, Dad is very selective with his.
Well, he's on a bad
you guys-
streak.
Well,
One
he only
time.
had one wrong.
I got a 1.
Numbers guy. How many? I know I surpassed you, so
Whatever.
I have those facts. I'll bring them up.
What do you
in
mean?
a
How
second.
many greens you've gotten? Well, you do it every week.
Which means it's harder for me to surpass you.
Oh,
'Cause
whatever.
you only had to do it right 3 times.
No, percentage-wise, you haven't passed me.
Yeah, I have.
No,
Yes, huh?
no,
We'll
no.
pull it up because I'm at 0% because you guys freaking voted no on one that I
You're
wasn't even using.
lucky to be 60%.
No, Easton will pull it up from our
I'm
numbers
doing
guy.
it. Holy cow. He's not at 60%, I don't think.
It's like 63%. William Ayers -SP4TT. Our first time listening to your podcast. Welcome, William. Great podcast. I think trail cameras are the least of our worries as hunters. My opinion is that the drones and the AI in hunting apps is far worse. Love that you guys do this as a family. We'll be watching from now on. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've covered
that's
drones.
what it
That
is.
could be.
Yeah, so, wait, over the past 5 episodes. Oh, yeah, over the past 5 episodes, Warren has been 100%. Warren is at 66%. Dad is at.
What?
So hold up. Dad is at 50% because
terrible.
Hey. Just come up with another one today, and you get
And
it
then I'm
right. You're right
75%.
back to, yeah, you're gonna be blown
If it
out of the
passes,
water.
that's bad, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, a few extra bucks goes a long ways,
Out of
man. I would do
4.
anything to make him lose.
You got 2. Jake Talese says, congrats. Thanks, brother. Butchbeard 6311.
Thanks for your
Live in
order,
Ohio.
Jake
Never
Delee.
used cameras. I'm like David. Love to sit there and see what shows up. Great podcast, guys. Don't let him fool you. He uses the trail cameras.
He does.
Jinsanov 2174. Glad I listened long enough to hear Sensor back in stock. LOL. Headed to the website now.
That's actually
Smart
good.
man.
That is something. That we took a long time to get to it.
Brian Sheffield 7037. Congrats, Warren. Appreciate it. Another great episode with an interesting subject. I've often wondered how long it would take for this to become an issue since there are so many cellular trail camera companies out there. I think, like you guys said, the deer and herds may get better since people will have to go to their properties to check cameras and to hunt to keep up the great work. Zach Wise 2985. Shout out to you. Lisa Ann Allen 6283. Jeremy Rupsick, of course. Appreciate you, buddy. And Ricky Lloyd 2010. Appreciate you.
So our YouTube is doing significantly
Got a lot of
better.
new names there
Yeah,
that I
there
haven't
was.
heard you read before.
That's because it was an interesting topic. So we'll see if we can do the same today.
Without further ado,
All right. So Easton's going to read
I
off.
go to the last. It should be the last one. Yeah, it should be the last one.
You said it's not going to be up there.
It's not. I'm just trying to see if I feel like
where you can fit
I
him.
may have had another one, but I think we've gotten through just about everybody.
I think we have to.
I'll have to check my double check my sheet. I'm sure by the time I read this one, somebody's gonna message
So
me saying,
it-
you didn't read mine.
Yeah, if he didn't.
So let me know.
Because I can tell you right now, that could happen. He's not very bright sometimes. He'll miss stuff.
Says the guy who has no obligations. He's not
That's
owned to
smart.
any wacky fact, not owned to any stories.
Yeah, I have to do these.
You're a freeloader.
Ooh, I have it really
You're
tough.
a freeloader.
I have it
David,
so easy.
Freeloader
Moocher.
holder.
He always called us moochers.
Yeah, he's a freeloader. David freeloader
You're a
holder.
freeloading
No,
mooch. You
That
piece
means
of
I'm
junk.
just smarter than they are, and I know how to delegate.
Delegate.
My ass.
There's a difference
All right,
between
here we
delegate
go.
and sitting on the freaking tailgate.
That didn't make any sense.
Gate
perfect
is in
sense.
delegate.
The gate and
and
gate.
that
We
makes
understood
sense in
it.
Warren's head.
I know what he's trying to do. It is
Yeah.
still stupid.
We understood because we have obligations to keep our brains fresh.
My favorite is when you guys try to click these things and they don't work. I knew that was coming next. I was about to grab it. Can I read? No. Can't, but
Go.
okay. Jake Zetz.
Freaking moron.
Hey guys, tuning in from Northeast Ohio. I have a story for you guys of my 2023 buck that I would like your opinion on. Going to try to make this quick. I hunted this deer all bow season last year until a good 8-point, 134 inches, gave me a shot at 42 yards broadside. First nice deer with a bow since I started hunting hard, along with land management. Pretty rewarding. Now back to this year's season. Pursuing the same deer as last year, watching him from the nubs to hard horns, I know I was dead set on him. I hunted this specific deer for at least 80 hours with my bow. It's a long time. I drew back on a 150-inch deer at 7 yards that was on a hot doe the first week of November, but let off because I know the deer I was after was in the area. Tough because since it would have been my biggest deer. Unfortunately, it didn't make it happen with a bow this year, other than a doe I took early season. Gun season rolls in, so I decided to go back out with the old muzzleloader while I could find the time in the middle of building our barn dominium. Yeah, that'd be kind of tough, building a house and hunting too. Hunting one of my evening sets in less than an hour. I get a shot at him at 10 yards. Wish I had my stinking bow. After field dressing this deer and getting him hung up in the shop, I noticed a broadhead stuck above the shoulder but just below the spine. No man's land, if I'm not mistaken. When I shot this deer, there was zero sign of him being hit with a broadhead. I'd like to know your guys' opinion on this. What is your guess on what happened with the shot? And was this deer going to die or get an infection? Is no man's land real? I had people blue in the face arguing that there's no man's land, no man's land, and this deer would have died. The way this buck acted and presented himself, I think he would have made it till next season. Pictures are of the entrance wound healed and broadhead with the shaft. Buck ended up scoring 159 inches and 7/8 with 7-inch bases. Oh my gosh. Glad God gave me this opportunity. Thanks, guys. Look forward to listening to the pod every week, and awesome work. Well,
Wait, so
Jake.
when did he shoot him? And
Well, so he didn't get a shot at him in what would be 2022. And then 2023, which was this season, is when he killed him.
yeah, but the no man's land hit.
Yeah,
he didn't do that.
he doesn't
He
know
found
that.
the arrow.
He didn't shoot him. Hunting after field dressing this deer and getting him hung up in the shop, I noticed a broadhead stuck above the shoulder but just below the spine.
I'll go.
He doesn't have a time frame. I was going to say this is funny because we just talked about this at camp last weekend. Me and Warren were in one of our
I think
classes.
this may have just changed the topic for the
Yeah,
day.
absolutely. I'm like freaking because he says he's got a bunch of buddies that
People are blue in the face telling him the no man's land isn't a thing.
So let's make
wait
it
till you see
Or
this
that the
photo.
deer would have died. That's
let's
what they
make a
said.
deal with him. Tell him to get all of his buddies that are to start listening to our podcast so that they can start off right. Yeah, I knew that's where you were going.
Well,
What do you mean?
Look at that picture
Well, I know. How'd you know where he's going if you haven't even seen it?
because I knew what I could just tell
he
by
said he
his
sent
face.
pictures. Okay, well, so I guess
No man's land is real,
100%.
100%.
And if you don't
And-
want to agree with us, we have plenty of video to show you.
Yeah, and I've watched the videos on YouTube and stuff where these guys are claiming that it's not, and they're supposedly so much smarter than all of us. And I'm not saying that they aren't, that they're not smart people, but what I am saying is we also have conducted an experiment without even doing it. It's just been real, and that is Mr. Liss. If there's no such thing as no man's land, Mr. Liss wouldn't be alive. It was a little back, but it was still
the best example was Kyle's.
Yes.
That is the most no man's land deer that we have ever filmed, and it is no doubt. And the other thing we did is we measured, or I did one time when everybody started saying this, is I skinned a deer and then measured how far it is from the spinal column to the top of the back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's I'd have to look at I know I have a picture of it
Mine
somewhere.
was 2
It like-
inches.
no, it's like 4 inches.
No,
Like
that's
4
in
inches
between
or 6 inches or something.
what you had said.
Well, I'd have to find it. It's like
The
4
spine
inches.
is not 6 inches below the back.
The problem with that, though, is that's going to differ by deer because of
Yeah.
the size of the deer. That can differ by where they are and things like that. So, but the point is, there is a place where there is non-vital organs between where those organs are and going up to the spine of the deer. 100%. And when Warren says Kyle's deer and why that one, we had a videographer that worked for us that we let him hunt. And so I'm filming him, and this buck comes in, and he shoots this deer. I think it was like 24, 25 yards. It wasn't very far. And we thought he made a good shot. And, I mean, I'm looking through the camera, so a lot of times I'm not one to comment. But anyhow, I said, how do you, I asked him how he felt. He's like, felt good.
Is this the one like on the west side?
We called it, the place we used to hunt was
never mind.
Bittersweet.
No, I was thinking something else.
But anyhow, he shoots the deer. We go back, we look at the footage, and I'm like, yeah, this could be concerning.
Yeah.
And he's like, why do you think that? And I said, because I think you could be a little too high. And he said, okay, well, so we get down, we go look for blood, we start following blood, and it's just it's not a lot of blood. There's some blood, but we followed it, I want to say, for 300 yards, 350 yards. We decide we're going to back out and leave it alone and see if we can, are we pushing the deer? Get back on the blood trail the next day, no deer, no more blood. Week later, trail camera photo of the deer. Scar is there, absolutely 100% same deer. He's walking around with no problem whatsoever.
Deer's going to die, though.
He may die of infection. That would be the only.
I was totally joking.
Well, that would be the only way. Because the whole thing is an infection can take long time. It could.
Oh, here it is.
It's not something that he was going to die from that wound within that season.
3.5 inches. And that was off of Easton's. That was off of your 2000, your 8 point.
So,
So
but what do
you
you
see
say?
there.
3.5 inches from where to where?
From the very top of the back till
Till you hit the spinal column.
till the spinal column.
Mm-hmm.
So from the very top of the back down where you can see like the hair, the very top of the back of the deer, down to the top of the rib cage, the bottom of the spinal column is 3.5 inches on a 3-year-old Iowa whitetail.
Hey, he could have been 4.
He was 3.
He's only 3.
So if it's anything below any more than 3.5 inches down from the spinal column, then the chances are you're below the spine.
Yeah,
and you're
if
in
you
the
don't knock
chest
them off,
cavity of
you'll
the
know if
deer.
you hit them in the spine too.
Right.
Well, if you go
So I
3.5
think-
inches down, you're going to center punch there.
But hold on here. We
Their
should
spine.
probably make some of these arguments. So he says he shot it during gun season with the muzzleloader. Is it possible, and we may have to ask Jake on this, that somebody else could have shot the deer with a bow? Deer had only been alive still for a few minutes. Comes in front of Jake. Jake shoots him with a muzzleloader. So it's kind of trying to delineate from his
No,
story.
he
No.
says he mentions in there
He
how
would have been carrying his bow. He had to pick up the gun.
Well, he said,
no, he says by the
says,
way the
I-
deer was acting, it seemed like the deer was fine.
tough decision since it would have been my biggest deer. Unfortunately, didn't make it happen with a bow this year, other than a doe I took early season. Gun season rolls in, so I decided to go out with the old muzzleloader while I could find the time. In the middle of building our barn dominium, hunting one of my evening sets, in less than an hour, I get a shot on him at 10 yards. I wish I had my stinking bow. After field dressing this deer and getting him hung up in the shop, I noticed a broadhead stuck above the shoulder but just below the spine. No man's land, if I'm not mistaken. When I shot this deer, there was zero sign of him being hit with the broadhead. I'd like to know your guys' opinion on this. What is your guess on what happened with the shot? And was this deer going to die or get an infection? If so, is no man's land real? I had people blue in the face arguing. So the way the buck acted and presented himself, I think he would have made it till next season. Pictures of the entrance wound healed and broadhead with shaft. Okay, healed. Yeah.
He says that way
Yeah.
like 3
I just had
sentences
to.
earlier.
I am trying to.
And
People
he
are going to
couldn't,
argue with us, so I'm trying to
He
provide
couldn't
all
use
the
a bow
information.
either. So that obviously tells us that
No,
it was
he-
not bow season.
Well, you can have a bow during.
He was saying he was bow hunting the entire time, couldn't get it done. You could infer that he had to pick up a gun because it was done with bow season.
I'm saying that you can use a bow during muzzleloader season.
not listening.
You're not
Okay,
listening.
anyways.
It wasn't muzzleload season; it was gun season. He
Yeah,
could
he
pick up a muzzleloader during gun season.
Right. Can you during our muzzleloader season, our gun season? Can you use a bow?
Not in
Or
one of not in
muzzleload
the 2
muzzleload
gun
season,
seasons.
yes, but
Right.
in the gun season,
This
no.
is Ohio.
I know. I don't know their law.
Exactly. So tell me you can't use a bow.
I
then.
don't. That's not even relative to
If
what we're
someone
talking
else
about.
shot the deer, it would be relevant
But he
because then your
tells
whole
you-
argument it wouldn't make sense. But now all I'm trying to do here is lay out the argument because we already know that everybody else doesn't agree with us. Everybody else believes as he
That's
was
not
experiencing.
true. That's not everybody else. There will be a group of people out there that do not agree.
There is a large. They have flipped most people.
No,
Most
there-
people now believe that there's no man's land. I'm telling you, you can see it, and everybody will tell you, no man's land's a myth. It's a myth. It's a myth.
It's not a myth.
Okay,
Not a
well, so
myth.
then why don't you provide some factual information and go
I
into
am.
that?
I'm trying. So Kyle is one.
Okay, and so we have video that we know for sure that's more than 4 inches down from the top of the deer's
For
back,
sure. That was probably 6 to 8 inches down.
which
I mean,
would put it beneath the spinal column,
yes, and
in the chest cavity.
yes, and
But-
yet we had multiple. I want to say we had. I know it was a week. I want to say it was a solid week when we first got trail camera wasn't on video. It was just a photo. And then I felt like, if I remember correctly, and I'd have to go look on that. I know we got more than just that one picture of him. There was other pictures of him later on that said he was still alive.
Yep. So in Jake's case, though, that wound is healed. I mean, it's completely healed over, so we know for sure. Who knows? Maybe it'd been 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but where the deer was hit, it didn't kill it right away.
Longer than that.
It could have
He
been the
said
year
there's-
before.
It could've-
He said before you got to your other thing, no sign of entry,
Yeah.
which tells you that it's had plenty of time to heal up.
So that's what I'm saying.
Even if it was healed up and had a scar on it, you'd see it. And if he's saying there was no sign of it, that he's been shot for a hot minute.
Do you guys, and you probably don't remember, and this is a little off topic, I guess, but my point is that, do you guys remember the bucket or the jar that Waylon had at his shop, that they, from all the broadheads that they, in bullets that they would pull out of animals?
Mm-hmm.
He had a jar that was sitting there, and they would throw all those in there. Like any time that they, any broadhead that was stuck somewhere and everything, it just showed you how many animals have survived being shot. Now, I'm not saying that all those were no man's land shots. They could have been in legs or whatever. But my point is that they can survive. And the no man's land thing is the issue that you have with it, especially what I've seen online with these guys that are blowing up the lungs and stuff like that, is it very much could be on inspiration and exhalation, the difference between you making a fatal shot and not, whether the lungs are inflated or whether they're not. And there's no way that you're going to know that when you shoot.
So, well, one, if you look at this, if you look at his shot here, not his shot, but the broadhead that was in his deer, to me, I don't know that arrow would have gotten to the second lung.
Just to the first one.
Yeah, it looks as though it would only been able to get to the first lung.
Possibly. It's hard. It's even with the spine. I'm assuming that, it's coming in this way, that you're probably looking at 5 inches of penetration, if I had to guess.
I wouldn't think it would have gotten. I don't think it would have gotten to the first one. I mean, it would have gotten to it, but it wouldn't have hit it.
Oh, that'd be well.
If
So let's just try to let's just go into our beliefs. Obviously, you believe that no man's land is a real thing.
I believe it because I've seen it happen.
And I think that you need to clarify, what do you consider no man's land?
I consider no man's land the distance between wherever the highest lung reaches and the spine directly over the shoulder. That's where I would describe. That's my best description, and that's horrible. I would rather have a diagram to show someone, because I would say that it's roughly.
So you mean it
60
beneath the spine?
Beneath the spine and below and above the lungs. Yes.
Okay, so you believe there's a void there, because some people will tell you that there's no void there.
I agree. I know what they're saying, but I disagree with them.
Okay, but they also tell you that they believe that, well, maybe that could be correct, but they'll say that the lungs are attached to the top of the spine, that inner sac or whatever it is inside of that chest cavity is all attached to the top of the spine. I believe, but a lot of people will say that no man's land is the back straps, basically, piece of meat above the spine and to the top of the back, that 3.5 inches that I was referencing. That is not what I consider no man's land.
No. That's just a really bad shot.
Yeah, that's just high. You're just way high.
Way high.
I think that no man's land is a real thing, and I do think that people are not taking into consideration when a deer is inhaling or when they're exhaling. That's the videos I've seen on YouTube of them doing the whole deal with filling the lungs up. They fill the lungs up way beyond what they can really go to. I mean, it looks like
good.
A damn hot air balloon in there. Like, they're not that big all the time, and then when they're exhaling, it goes very small, and I think that it could be above that. Now, I somewhat believe if that arrow, I think we should kind of pick apart that shot here. I think 2 things with that shot. One, I'm starting to believe that deer can only live on one lung if the arrow stays in. Because that's this one now, and then Mike's deer, Collison's, and then every other one I can think of that we've ever had make it like that, the arrow is always in there. And I think that it's plugging the hole somehow.
I don't know that I could go that far to make that statement. I don't know.
Well, I can't think of any other one-lung deer we've ever had that lived. At least that we're aware of.
I either miss them or smoke them, so I don't know. I've had I haven't had very many marginal wounds. It's either been armpit or
Well,
I think spine.
Well, I think the first thing that what you just brought up is a whole nother subject.
Yeah, I was still on where it's at.
Okay, well, we'll get to then. Let's come back to, because that subject is, can a deer live with one lung? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think only if there's an arrow in it. And then I think it's got a better chance if you're using a fixed blade broadhead. Now it just lit the entire world on fire because they're all going to be mad. If you're using expandable, you probably pop that thing.
Get mad at him.
What you're
not
saying
at
is
us,
it pops
we're
it,
in
and
the
then
same podcast
because
area.
the arrow moves around and it closes back up some, then stuff can slip by. Air could slip by the broadhead.
No, I'm saying the hole is so much larger that it can't get plugged. Where when you have these fixed blades that put these little dinky holes in them, that if the arrow stays in there, that hits the shoulder or whatever it may be, and it lodges in there, and then it's only got a little tiny cut where there's just a little bit of air slipping through there because the broadhead is still in it. You with me?
I'm with you, but I don't agree with you.
Broadhead's there, little bit of air is going through there. If you have a freaking 2-blade
Slice it.
big ass expandable, that doesn't work.
What did Mike shoot his
cut
with?
such a I think he had a fixed blade too. I think he was a G5 something, which looks like that one.
Okay. Anyway, so back to where it is.
Okay.
I have a thought on this too because I don't think people. Well, I think the whole thing about it being. I guess you got to look at how the lungs are shaped, in my opinion, because the lungs aren't going to come up to the spine and just like run perfectly along the spine. That's not really how they're shaped. They're kind of angled. So as you go further back into the body, if we're going on the fact that, which I still am going to go out on a limb here and say I might not agree with you on the inflating and deflating of the lungs, because in my head, I'm having a hard time picturing a lung when he is breathing in or breathing out is going up and down to expand versus coming in and out to expand. I don't think that, I don't know. I'm not a freaking biologist, so I couldn't tell you. I've never looked at one when it's actually breathing, or I don't know how you would do that. But anyways, point being that they come up at an angle. We know that. Mm-hmm. And so as you get further or closer to the shoulder, so if you shot it further forward, the larger chance you have of hitting something that would be no man's land or not hitting anything. And so I think that, like, my picture I drew here is not great. But you have two areas. Actually, it
looks like a butterfly.
It's not bad, actually. It kind of pictures it pretty well. But
that's the leg coming up?
That's his leg and then his shoulder. I didn't do the rest of his body. I don't know how to draw deer.
Looks like a chicken leg.
I think from where everybody knows where the scapula is, it comes back on his shoulder. From there, you have a chunk right behind it and a chunk right in front of it that is going to be your ultra nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because if you hit right there in the center, you're obviously going to know you hit something because you hit his freaking bone. And that comes almost all the way up to his spine. So the location of it is pretty freaking little. I think that's why
I agree with that.
There 100%. Is such a large debate on it that you have to hit it pretty dang perfectly, especially if you start breaking it down on if you're in a tree stand, how close it is, whatever, that your chance of hitting that is pretty much nothing.
Yeah, I think you're talking like...
It's a small area.
That big, like a little tiny void.
Yes. So I will agree. There's definitely a no man's land because we have seen enough of these deer where it zips through them and they're like, huh, what's up? And then you see them later and they don't care. Nothing happened. But at the same time, I think people are confused about the location more so than they are about the fact that they're just arguing that it's not a thing because maybe they hit them 3, 4, 5 inches behind where the shoulder is and high. And they're like, oh, well, it died. That's where everybody says no man's land is. And well, that's where the lungs are coming up to that high. So you're not going to have no man's land right there anyway. So you just don't understand where it's at. And it's a small area.
I agree with the small area part of it. But the part I guess going
I don't think that many people know where the scapula is.
I was going to say I don't know that everyone understands because
I think you'd be surprised because when we started talking about the V, it was not nearly as big of a surprise as we thought it was.
Every kid at camp still thinks there's a plate.
What do you mean?
They all think that there's a
shoulder plate
that covers the entire
the whole shoulder.
Yeah.
They don't
that's
now
also kids.
That's not really fair.
Yeah, but they're getting that from somewhere. I mean, that's
but I wouldn't have understood it either, and he's my dad, and I thought that for a long time too. So, anyways, go on.
So let's go. I want to go back to what Warren was talking about because, So the one question that he asks in there is, was it going to die from infection? That's something that I don't think there's any way for us to know. Because
but I think that you could look at that right there, and I would tell you that it doesn't look like it
doesn't look very infected to me.
Coming from what I saw in my deer this year, that I didn't shoot him. I don't know if somebody did shoot him. He had a massive goiter on him, like disgusting. Definitely got screwed up with something, whether it was a fight or somebody shot him or something. And it was deep, like into the inside of him, and you could see. Oh, it was so gross. You could see, like on the meat and stuff, how it was infected and gross in that area. That looks like it's a perfectly fine area.
So
it's inside the cavity.
Mine was. No, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, we're not infection thing. I don't think you can even discuss really. I mean, how do you know that?
I don't. I mean, but I do know of I know of one hunter that claimed a deer that died like 6 months after he shot it.
There's probably a lot of people who've done that.
You know, but yeah, I don't know if I could do that. I mean, how would I know what killed it?
Yeah, well, if you put an arrow in it and that even slowed it down enough to get killed by something, you're probably the cause of why it's dead.
Hold on. But now, okay, so add this in there. You shoot the deer on November 1st, okay? And then you get trail camera pictures of it from November 1st till February 1st. And it's walking around, you're trying to hunt it, you do everything you can to try to kill it, and you don't. And then come shed season, you're into March now, all of a sudden someone's like, oh yeah, I found this deer dead. Did you kill that deer? I would be able to say, I would not claim that deer.
I don't know why we're talking about this, but what I'm saying is it's a matter of, do you think that your shot changed the outcome of the deer's life in a little way or a big way? It doesn't matter. That's the start of why he died. So, but the whole thing, well, I don't know what you're talking about, but the fact that if somebody called me and said that a deer I shot 6 months ago, they found dead, I have no right to come get that because I didn't find it. And I have no idea. We have no way of telling if I killed it.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, I think if I found it shed hunting, also found it.
Yeah, that's a totally different story. If I find it, I'm going to go ahead and, like, thank God I found my deer. Same reason that people go look in shed season for the deer they couldn't find.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, but typically you're looking for a deer that you haven't found. You haven't seen him anymore either. You shoot them and then they don't show up on trail camera anymore. Ooh, see?
I was already done with your conversation. I'm waiting on your
conversation. That means I win. When you get an awkward silence like that,
were you waiting for the next
I should drop the mic.
Too? Yeah.
I just was wondering what we were speculating on that for.
Okay.
Yeah, we were just letting you talk because
so
it
go
doesn't
on.
make any
so
sense.
All right. So go on the no man's land. What else?
I don't have anything else to say. That's my opinion on it.
Everybody's going to be hitting backwards, thinking that it paused there for a minute.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, "What?" Or where'd my Wi-Fi go?
Well, I think we could talk about the one lung thing because I think now that there's a consensus that there's no such thing as no man's land. Now you have a whole bunch of people that think they're one-lunging deer all the time. They just live, which I think is a worst outcome because now you have people who believe that, it's one lung, they can live, and so then they're not doing everything that they should be to try to recover that animal when in fact it's probably dead. If you had to take and put into odds of like how many deer that get hit in one lung, let's just say one lung pass through, how many of them do you think are dying in a percentage?
I think that's too much of a speculation.
Just give it a ballpark.
Well, I'm pretty sure I've had 2 animals that I've single lunged that have died.
Which ones?
My elk was a single lung.
Yep.
And I shot him again, but it was quite evident that if we didn't care about the elk, he was going to die right there. It was just a matter of he was about tipping over already. And then there was a buck that I shot. And I feel like it was a dab, but I'm trying to remember which one that I did not hit great. And I'm like 90% sure it was a single lung. And he went over and tipped over.
I had a doe I single lunged one time too.
I think
maybe it was a doe.
Or was it the buck you shot with it that you shot the buck and doe with him? Because that deer.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I knew I hit one that was higher. And it was one lung.
That was double lung.
Are we sure?
Mm-hmm. That deer died right away.
I couldn't believe that even hit anything.
I hit a doe one lung though one time. and she died. It was one of the first ones I ever shot, Alyssa. I think single lung deer.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't a double.
Especially on a pass through, I think it's 98% are dying.
See, I wouldn't think it's that high.
No.
I don't.
I also
But
cannot
slicing a lung-
stand how much you just throw out random numbers. Like
you
you're
gotta-
intellectually compiling all this information like, oh, this percent, 98%, and I'm right. Where does that come from? We have no idea.
Going off of what we've seen, because how many times, all the times that you're going and tracking stuff, one, how many times is the hit actually where anybody ever says it is?
Like, hardly ever.
Okay. And they're all the ones always saying that they're single lunging them. And then all the ones that have been a single lung, you always wouldn't find.
Huh?
You
All the
usually
ones-
are finding.
Oh. I don't know.
That's very, very, very rare.
I am on the side of, I think a single lung is quite lethal. There's not very many times where I could say
I think
that
more
it's-
of them die than
not.
than not. I agree with that.
I
But
think
I
it's
don't
a
think-
rare
like
case.
put some kind of numbers on it. So you're gonna tell me it's 50-50?
No.
That if I have a single lung shot on a deer, I have a 50-50 shot of
No,
recovery?
he just said more times than not
Right.
Okay.
that they die.
I'm just trying to give more of an accurate idea of what you really think, because if it's only a 50-50 shot, I mean that's
going with
pretty low odds.
71.5% of them die.
That sounds better than 50-50.
That I would take it to the bank.
I'm not going to put a number on it because I don't.
no
I have
idea.
no idea how. I mean, I could be at 85%. I could be at 65%. Because
we
I
should be tracking these things.
Well, we didn't. We didn't know that we were going to be
Yeah,
putting this out
What
there.
are you on today?
What?
What did you drink?
I'm gonna be
I'm
with
drinking
Mud
my-
or what?
right
What is
there.
in there?
I'm having
Crack.
fruit punch and Jack Daniels. Yeah.
Warren.
Well, you need some because you chill out.
No, you wouldn't, because it's fruit punch. I could give that to a little kid, and he'd think it's the same
What
as
is
this
that?
Hawaiian punch.
Mud.
Freaking pansy.
It doesn't look like it.
It did. I promise it is.
Why is
Anyways,
It's not clear.
it clear? Yeah, it is.
It's not.
the issue is with finding the statistics on it is the fact that you only have what I can only think of like 2 or 3 of people like a Collison that have had a situation where somebody has shot it or they have shot it themselves. They've gone back a year or 2, 3 years later, whatever, shot the same deer and can open it up and see either the arrow that was previously still lodged in it and was clearly through a lung or has collapsed or something, and been able to really clarify that, because otherwise you have no way to absolutely guarantee, because one person is going to argue that you didn't hit single lung, you just hit no man's land or something like that, or you didn't hit anything that was vital. The next guy is going to say it was single lung and it's living. Until you kill it or you can open the sucker up, how are you ever going to validate what everybody says? Because you're going to hear all kinds of things on the internet, on YouTube, on tons of stuff that is, this is the right way, and this is, no man's land doesn't exist. You can't shoot through shoulders, or you can shoot through shoulders, this, that, and the other. They don't have 90% of them, if we're going on your stuff here, don't have actual, there's no way to actually validate exactly what we're all talking about. It's only from experience, and it's only from seeing or assuming what our knowledge is based on. So like the whole single lung argument too, I would say more times than not that the people come up and are saying, oh, I single lunged one. Most of the time I don't believe them, because I am used to the amount of people that tell me they shot something here. I get to the deer tracking it is not even relatively close to where they shot. So I know that the majority of people are not accurate with where they're thinking or saying they're hitting stuff. So I don't know how you're ever going to figure that out.
All I'm talking about. Okay, so then how can we make the statement that no man's land is real?
That's my point. Is we really can't. We can sit here and say 100%.
We have video. We have video. If we know for a fact that the average deer is the average 3-year-old Iowa whitetail, it's 3 inches down from the top of their back is the spine.
You can't say that either, because you've only measured 1 3-year-old deer in Iowa.
Okay, well, let's go measure all of them. I bet you it's within 15% of that, which is only going to be what? Like less than half an inch?
It might be within 20% of that.
Okay.
Or 17.
Still under an inch difference. And so then you have a Kyle, and you have multiple others that we have on video that hit him 6 inches below the back. You're going to tell me that that deer was just distorted and its spine is way the hell down here?
I don't know what you're referring to.
Then it would have
I am
to be
on the
underneath
same
the
side
spine.
that there is a no man's land, but I'm also of the theory that there's no way that we're going to be able to, unless every single hunter
No, all
is
I'm
cutting
saying
it
is
open and calculating each little thing that also isn't accurate because you're laying it on its side and it is not actually
all
inflating
I'm saying
lungs
is that we
properly.
have video where most people don't have video that can show an arrow is below or is where we said it was. It was 6 inches down from the top of the back or 7 inches down
You
from
can
the
prove
top
at
of
least
the
where
back.
the shot hits.
Right. Where most people don't have that at all. They're just telling you. And
get
so you have
that,
to just
yes.
go off
Well,
what
and
they're
then to
saying.
follow that up, we have trail camera photo of the deer with you can see the wound, and the deer's still alive.
Right. And we have multiples of those. It's
Yes.
not the only. I know that's not the only instance that we have.
Correct.
So that's all I'm saying is that some of our opinions is coming from the fact that we're able to rewatch these on video. Like I think if you remember last year when we posted the armpit deal, that went like super, super viral.
What did you post?
I said that when we get all these calls from people telling us that they heart shot him or they hit him perfect,
And they're hitting him in the armpit.
and then we go and we track them for 200 yards, and blood starts to peter out, and then it runs out of blood, and then the deer is alive, and they're always saying, "No, I don't. I know I crushed that deer." It's that 99% of the times what's happening is they're actually hitting him in the armpit, but since it's at an angle because they're shooting out of a tree stand and the fletchings are higher than where it goes in, it looks as though it does go right behind the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason we figured that out, I think, is because of video. We're able to
I've
sit
given
there and
us
go
a
frame
lot.
by frame.
That is my most missed shot.
So I think that's why that video went viral, because a whole bunch of people were like, "Oh shit!"
Ew.
I mean, there was like 100 comments saying, "This is exactly what happened to me. This is exactly
It
what
looks
happened to me."
gorgeous.
Oh,
and
and,
it does not happen.
and even typically it's good blood for a while.
Yeah,
oh, yeah. It
I
might
mean-
even look like a good color, too.
Yep. But then there's just no deer. I'm thinking of another videographer that we had shoot one, that armpitted one, and we told him what we thought before he even went and looked, that this is what we think you did.
Yep.
Based on the video that we're looking at here, this is what I'd hate to be the bearer of bad news when we don't know yet. You may go and find that deer laying 75 yards away, but it doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. And we happen to be right. The deer was still alive and lived on to the next year, and he was still hunting him.
We did see an instance though once where, I kind of thought it was going to be armpit, and it actually clipped the heart, but that deer lived for 14 hours.
Are you talking moms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think the one key difference you have with that one is he never stopped bleeding.
Correct.
Now, one time did blood run out, and that's because
His heart
Heart
was
was
pumping
cut.
blood, but it was barely cut.
yeah, just a nick. The other one this reminds me of, it's got to be the weirdest one of all time, is that deer that dude hit in both lungs, and it lived.
The one that
fluff-
blew
the
up.
Michelin Man buck.
Yeah,
Yeah, or deer, whatever. I
That-
don't even remember if it was a buck because
I would not have believed
And that
it.
was a pass through.
Yeah, we have the video.
Okay,
of
so-
it
so-
because somebody sent that to us.
Well,
like,
there's your single lung thing, though.
Because here,
that's
no,
the only one I've ever seen ever in the history of every deer that's been
Dude,
shot
that's
on video.
two lungs. That one went through two,
That's what I'm saying.
and it lived. My point is that if there was one that it went through two and it lived, wouldn't that make sense that if it went through one, there's a better chance that it's gonna live?
No, there's something called an anomaly,
Yeah, I know what that
which
is.
means that the odds of that happening. How many deer have been killed on video now? And this is the only one that I've ever seen ever anywhere, especially that blew up like he did.
There's not a ton that are.
How many deer you think have been killed on video?
I think a lot, but I'm also thinking about all the guys we talk to and friends and stuff that are filming that they go film and they end up shooting stuff left and right. Oh, I didn't get it this time.
Yeah, but how many do you think have been? Like if you took even just us, the juries, everybody else, I mean, you're going to be in tens of thousands.
Okay.
no, you're in millions.
Yeah, you're way more than that. But
Okay, so millions. That's even more so. And then how come there's not been anybody else that has a deer that blew up like the damn Michelin?
Well,
Man
there
like
may
that?
be. Well, we've only had one person send theirs into us, but
this podcast,
think it would
today's is
be
going to
seen
drive me up a
somewhere.
wall.
That's all you're doing. Is
I just
driving
think-
Because
everyone up
it's
the wall.
so much speculation. Speculation.
I just think you got to be careful.
I was just talking about weird ones, and the fact that that's got to be one of the weirdest shots of all time, where everybody can actually agree that the arrow
the deer should
for
that,
sure
that
went
deer
through
should be
both
dead.
lungs.
I mean, yes. I mean, deer was quartered correctly and everything about it. where the arrow went
It
in.
also,
where
why don't you tell people what it did? Dude shoots the deer.
Yep.
Hits it perfect. Goes through it like you're saying. It's hard to believe because, I mean, it absolutely
looks perfect to
had
me.
to have gone through both lungs. And then the next pictures they have of it, it looks like somebody took an air compressor and stuck it in its behind and blew the deer up like one of those balloon animals. The whole thing looks like he should be floating away.
It? He killed it, right?
No, a guy killed it in rifle season.
Somebody else killed it, and he found it.
Yeah, and then when they gutted it, they were all interested because they were like, "What? How is this possible?" And they gutted it really, surgically, and they looked at it, and there was in fact a hole through both lungs.
And it wasn't from the rifle.
No.
Or the guy hit it with a rifle.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the messages. But I mean, they wanted to see, and they were able to. But he also deflated. After a few days, after a few days, he deflated on his own. How that happened, I don't know. And then went back to, I guess he didn't go back, but he just looked like a normal deer again. Then they killed him, gutted him, and
Why were they so intrigued then if it looked like a normal deer?
Because the neighbor had shown him the video. Because he talked to his neighbor.
They knew
He's
the
like,
deer.
hey, I shot this really
so
big
they were
deer.
identifying the antlers or something.
And it should be dead. And send him the
sense.
video. And they're like, okay, we'll keep an eye out for it. And then it comes out in front of them during rifle season, and they shoot it. And they're like, holy shit, this is the same deer. And he's still alive. And then I'm sure they got probably sent him pictures when he was blown up like a balloon.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, I remember that one. It was kind of undeniable, if I remember right. He had done a good enough job of recording everything.
I guess going back to what you said about where you said you brought on a whole war about the fixed blade broadhead versus the expandable broadhead, and the expandable broadhead is more likely. I would agree with if you made the statement that it's more likely to not get plugged than it is a fixed blade, but not that it won't. And my point is in that case right there, something plugged those holes. The air was obviously that was going into his lungs was being released into the body. And like in a human, I'm trying to remember exactly how tension pneumothorax works. But there was an issue where if you get shot in a lung, your lung can start to inflate, or your body starts to take up that, and then that's when someone will you've seen like in the movies, they'll take a pen and push it through the skin, cut a hole and put it in there and release the air to let the pressure out. So because what happens is your lung it can't do this anymore because everything around it is filled.
Mm-hmm. I think it'd just come through your belly button.
Well, your belly button is sealed, goofball.
I know. I just want to see his face.
But anyhow, so my point is, I don't think you can make the claim.
So worth it.
I don't think you can make the claim about the fixed blade versus the expandable that it's not going, if you shoot an expandable, it's going to cut a hole big enough that it can't ever get held up, because it can get plugged. There's all kinds of entrails. That's the other thing that I think that happens, that when you make that shot, when you put a shot in the no man's land or into one lung, I think the other reason why you're so likely to find that deer, what are you doing? I don't understand.
I'm just still laughing about the belly button thing.
But my point is that when you put something into the one lung area, there's so many other arteries, veins, and all kinds of other fatal equipment that deer has in that vicinity that you're more likely. It means you put that arrow in the right place, and so you're highly likely to catch something else as well. As you've captured one lung, you've deflated a lung, but you also may have cut something else that. Between the two things that make it to where the deer can't live.
I agree. I think it just increases your odds as opposed to a fixed blade.
I have a theory.
Just because there's more surface area being cut.
Let's be honest here. This whole thing.
Were we not being honest
Warren
before?
yells at me and yells at me and yells at me during deer season. You're overthinking where you're going to sit. You just need to go sit. Shoot the deer where you're supposed to, and we won't have an issue. And when it does become an issue when you screw up, because we all do, let's figure it out from there. Because none of this is even relatively close to a yes or no answer. This is all comes down to shoot the freaking deer on the right spot. Same thing with the mechanicals and fixed blades. Shoot it with a field point in the right spot, and you're going to kill it every time.
What if it ducks and you don't hit in the right spot?
Then you figure it out then.
You should have been anticipating it ducking.
So what should we do for that situation?
You figure it out then.
What wins then?
After you've gone through something. Holy
I need
cow.
that information now to prepare me for
How
that.
am I going to prepare for a single lung shot? What am I going to do? I'm going to shoot it exactly like I normally do, and in some anomaly, as you would say, I hit it in a single lung, or, God forbid, I double lung the freaking thing, and it still lives. What am I supposed to do? There's nothing else for me to do. I freaking smoked the thing, and it's alive.
Shoot it with a rifle.
Go pick up a gun then, Warren.
I have.
This topic, I'm over.
Why?
Because
are you
it's so
grumpy
dumb.
today?
It's an argument of nothing. The no man's land is somewhat, we can at least discuss it. But
You
the
know?
single lungs and stuff, like there is so many different things, and none of us know if the other dude is right or if I'm right or if he's wrong and we're all wrong. And there's no freaking way to know.
Well, here's the thing. I think that
it's Squidward right now.
Yeah, I feel like Squidward right now.
I think the one thing that Warren brought it up earlier, that, or maybe you did, I don't remember which one of you said it, but that you get someone that says, well, I think I just one lunged it, and they're done looking.
That's BS. If you drew blood at all,
absolutely.
It doesn't matter what it is.
You need to be doing everything you can, assuming that you killed that deer, and that regardless of where you hit it, you need to exhaust every possible legal way of looking for that animal until you have determined you can't find it.
That pisses me off. I'm angry about that. I'm angry about a lot of things right now.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell.
Well, 4 to 6 is my grumpy period. So
4 to 6. What do you mean? Like
when
starting
I
at
start
4
to get
o'clock?
hungry in the afternoon.
You just ate a freaking sandwich.
That was like 4 hours ago.
I want to raise for having to deal with you. And you
I want to
being an
raise
asshole.
too. I'm freaking broke.
4 hours ago, you were eating that thing like an hour.
Okay,
and a half
so
ago when I walked in.
1:45.
Are we? Is
That's
that
not
all we're
4
gonna?
hours ago.
Nobody cares when you guys ate or when you didn't.
I haven't eaten, and I'm not grumpy, so maybe you should try not eating.
This is pointless.
Are we done?
Like I told you at the beginning, I apologize, and this is proof positive. No, I mean, I guess, are we done is the question. Did we cover everything that we
I
were?
think we
Because
should keep going.
That's fine. You guys can keep going.
What's the weirdest place that you ever hit one and it died?
I don't know. I wasn't expecting this question. So you're talking about trying to go through a couple hundred.
Didn't you know someone that hit one in the foot and it died?
I didn't. I do know of someone that shot. No, I didn't. But someone shot. That was with a rifle, but it was 100% in the leg, like below the knee, and the deer was dead.
Was it Paul?
No.
Who was it?
I don't know. It was someone that brought it to Waylon's shop.
Just bled out or what?
I
Or
get. I
couldn't
mean,
go
it was
anywhere?
laying there, and Waylon like, look at this, and we looked all over trying to like, okay, did he shoot it in the head, right in the ear?
Like blow its leg off or just a hole?
No, just a freaking hole, and that was it. And
Artery, I guess.
I must have been, and it killed it.
Gravity, man.
Did you have
Gravity.
one?
Yeah, all the blood started flowing down that way. There's an easy way for it to flow out.
If Liam's listening to this, Easton's the reason you lost at the shoot.
What?
Easton explained.
Liam is the reason he lost at the shoot because he can't freaking stop fiddling with his sight.
Liam is the reason Liam lost, but it was funny because Easton was trying to explain to them why you aim low.
Hold on, you got to now that you just threw that out there, because no one is going to know. But no one knows what you're referring to.
We had our Raise a Full Draw youth camp this past weekend.
Okay.
And on the last day of the shoot, so we take them through stations and they get certified in hunter ed. And so some of the stations is like shot placement, shot angles,
Shot place.
broadheads, all that stuff.
They learn about blinds, tree stands. They learn about orienteering. They figure out how to get to and from the woods safely.
Blinds.
Building
mentioned blinds.
shelters,
And tree stands.
Tree stands. I mentioned that.
Yeah, orienteering.
how to deal with that.
Didn't I just say all of that?
I was making fun of him because you got a shot placement and shot placement.
Okay, go on. So, and then on the last day, there's an archery shoot, and I'm assuming you're talking about during the archery shoot, Liam must have been one of the kids in camp,
Yes.
and he did not win. Was he in the advanced division?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he kept telling me Easton would explain to them in one of the groups. I can't remember which one it was, but he explained to them.
It
in one
was
of the
our
groups.
vitals group.
Okay, it was our vitals group. He was explaining to them why you aim low shooting uphill and why you aim low shooting downhill.
Okay.
And maybe somebody out there I'm sure will know the exact science to this. And so you please write in and let us know how it's supposed to be. Easton was saying that it's gravity affected, which somehow there's less gravity, and so that increases the
It's that's simple
point of
physics with a
impact.
plane.
Well,
Your
when I was
flat
going
planes
off
and
of this,
angled planes.
I'm pretty sure it's because there's an arc of the arrow. And so when you have an arc like this on flat ground, it's going to hit here. Or when you have an uphill angle, your point of impact is higher. That's why you need to aim low. When you have a downhill angle, it's the same thing. That's why you need to aim low. Regardless, the point is Easton explained to them that if it's uphill or downhill, you need to aim low.
Okay.
So Liam's shooting these targets, and they're like, it's like a 1 degree angle, man, like barely any angle, you know. And he'd shoot like a 5 right at the very bottom of the target, and he'd be like, man, I thought it would raise more than that with the gravity there. And I'm like, dude, it's like it's like 1 degree angle, man. And he said it like 4 times through there. He's like, I think Easton's wrong on that. And I'm like, dude, you are compensating way too much if you're still applying that. Like, just hold your pin where you need to freaking hit.
The gravity explanation, I think, for some people computes very easily. In your brain, and a lot of kids too, do not get it that way. But I will say, I think that your arc theory on that plays a role, but not what you're saying, because downhill would be different. Shooting uphill and downhill would have a different arc, or different place you're going to hit with going off of just the arc theory part.
Well, the gravity thing doesn't work because gravity doesn't change whether you're going downhill or uphill. Well,
No,
downhill
it
there's
doesn't.
more gravity.
But what does change?
The angle.
The amount of the plane. Do you know what planes are?
Yes. That's what I'm saying is that what you're not taking into consideration. It's not the gravity plane that is at play. It is the arrow plane.
That's the whole thing.
Right.
He's saying that it's the gravity effect on the arrow.
Yes.
Is what he is saying, and I believe that he's correct.
I can show you the math on it.
It's the path of the arrow.
No, I could show you the math. Now that I'm thinking about it, I could show you the math using a triangle, and we can do what the frick is the equation called, Master Nick? Hypotenuse and all that crap. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, all that. Yeah, that.
Pythagorean theorem.
Would it tell you exactly what the difference is in your, in the amount of how the length of the plane is that is being affected?
So explain to me how shooting uphill, gravity is going to have more of an impact on pulling that arrow down. That's going to make you need to aim lower.
It's going to have less of an impact because it's going to hit higher.
So
because there's not as much surface area to
uphill
push.
would I need to be aiming low?
That's what I'm trying to explain to you, because it doesn't matter if it's uphill or downhill. The plane, that's, let's say, 6 inches of surface plane getting pushed down. Can we agree on that?
Being pulled down.
And what
No, it's not pulled.
Easton is
Gravity
doing right
comes from
now, for
above,
those of you
not
that are
below.
listening, Easton's got a pen, and that's where the 6 inches is. He's saying the pen is 6 inches long, and he's describing that the gravity will pull on that entire 6 inches of that pen.
That's a plane, 6 inches. Okay. Can we agree that when it is angled upwards, that now this flat plane here is shorter?
Yeah.
So there's not as much surface area to be pushed on.
To be pulled on by
Pull
gravity.
on.
I think,
and it's the exact same thing.
I think it has to be a combination, because I think the amount of difference that you're going to have in a plane there, there's no way you'd have to compensate for that. That's got to be like a fractions of an inch.
It depends on how far you're shooting, how heavy your arrow is, all
And
that,
the angle.
and the angle, and how steep the angle is.
If you have a 700 grain arrow, yeah, it might be more of an issue.
Hence the reason that when you do this and you're shooting at a couple degree angle like that, it's not going to make a big difference.
Well, let's think about
when you're shooting like this out of a tree stand.
Terms now, like at 30 yards, how low are you truly aiming?
2 inches.
I would say 2 to 3 inches.
Which is pretty minor.
Yeah, it's not much.
Can be major depending
Now,
on
I'm telling
what
you
you're
right
shooting
now,
at.
when I was younger, I was aiming 4 or 5 inches.
Because his bow was shooting slower.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But that's just simple speed.
So here's, I guess, and Jeff this will be one that he's going to write an email and have the equations all
We haven't heard from him in a while. I guess we haven't given him factual things to compute yet.
The fact is, it is right that you need to aim low shooting uphill or downhill.
Yeah, whether the theory is right or not, at least know that is true.
But telling someone exactly how much to shoot or to aim, that is impossible unless unless they factually give you the speed of their arrow, the weight of their arrow, the poundage they're pulling with their bow. There's the steepness of the terrain. Everything plays that you would have to do a mathematical equation, and hunting is not about getting it down to a science. We're generalizing and trying to give ourselves the best possibility. Because I
think there's got to be a good graph of this somewhere that would.
I will say, whether it is the 100% accurate, I can draw your theory out and I can draw this one out very visually. I just don't have the area to do it.
You just
but we could do it on the whiteboard.
Got one made, you know. Yeah.
Well,
fortunately, with today's bows, I think a lot of the issues that they had to deal with aren't near as much of a problem.
Because the bows are so much faster.
Yeah, everything's so much more efficient.
I don't disagree with that, but it's still a factor.
Yeah.
I would still argue that even I still aim. It's hard for me to aim at the 10 ring on a 3D target because that's not where I aim on a real animal, especially on a mammal, on a 4-legged mammal.
That has nothing to do with the angle of aiming low because of gravity, though.
No, it has to do with how the animal's going to react.
Yes. What?
Now do you understand my frustration with this entire podcast? It's like the third time he's come up with something that is like, what left field are we in?
He's going Joe Rogan style.
What mushrooms did you take? Because he shares it with everybody at least, so they know what they can go take.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Am I right? He always says it was this freaking extract of this shroom. It put me on cloud 17, not 9.
I've seen him share weed. I've never seen him share mushrooms.
Oh, yeah. He talks about mushrooms. I heard him
talk about them, but I don't think they're doing them on.
Yes, they are.
I don't know that he's done it on a podcast. Maybe he has.
Oh, yes, he is.
He could be. That's what I'm saying. I don't think I've ever seen him like give a guest a mushroom. Like, is that even legal?
No, I'm not saying that. He will say what mushroom it is so that if somebody else in the world wants to go try that mushroom, well, Rogan did it. It's safe.
Yeah.
Well, he's alive. He's kicking, so. Okay.
I think I'm reserving my wacky fact for today.
Just going on. I just want to make sure that I'm 100% clear. I did not take any mushrooms. I've never taken any mushrooms, and so I don't know where that came from. So
that's what somebody who does mushrooms would say.
Yeah.
Okay. I've had a lot of mushrooms. They were all on my pizza.
How many crackheads, they're like, oh, I do crack all the time.
I knew some.
Only the ones that wanted more crack right then. Not recovered crackheads.
No, I'm talking about full-on crackhead. But you got to remember who I was dealing with. How do we get on this subject?
I don't know. How did we start talking about 10 rings when we're talking about freaking
because you're talking about angle. Because I'm thinking of Liam, and last thing that I would want to do to that kid is make fun of him that he lost this or whatever, when actually the way he is shooting, if he was to take that same belief and go into the hunting woods, he would be freaking.
Oh, he wasn't doing it for that.
You should go teach him. You
way
have taught
too
him.
low.
Way too low. And you ever seen young Sheldon?
He's the one that we called Sheldon last
From
year.
a Big Bang Theory?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
You know the kid that we're talking about, the little kid?
I know who Liam is, yeah.
Yeah, like
You should understand this thing.
Okay.
He was out to win, and it was just an excuse because he used it like 4 different times. He's like, oh, every time he hit low, it was, well, Easton told us about the gravity and stuff.
And blame it on me.
And I'm like, Liam, dude, it's like a 2-degree angle, okay? Like, and you're probably smart enough to know on the science part that ain't enough. Like, it was just his excuse for hitting a 5.
It's okay.
I am grumpy today, but I will say it was a very fun camp. Liam was a good time to be around most of the time until you started pulling out all the freaking excuses like that. But the rest of the kids, we had a very fun 4 days. Very interesting 4 days, to say the least.
It's always interesting.
It is. This marks 20 years, I believe, of those camps. If I'm correct, I think 2004 was
for you.
What?
I thought I was even younger than that when you started going without us. I thought I was like 2.
No, I'm thinking that I only went 1 year without you guys. And then the next year you guys came. It wasn't always raised to full draw, and it wasn't always a 4-day camp. It kind of grew and expanded into what it is today. But I want to say 2004, I believe, was the first year that I went. And so this year marked 20 years of which thousands, I mean, I can literally say now that it has reached thousands of kids.
Yep.
Been a pretty cool deal. So hats off to all the instructors and volunteers that have stepped up to do this, because it's taken a pile over the last 20 years. We've changed we're into multiple states and multiple camps. And
if you guys are interested, I know a lot of you guys have families. It does not have anything to do with us anymore. Dad was the one that started it a long time ago, and now it's blown up. So Raised to Full Draw is its whole own nonprofit now. But if you guys that are listening to us right now that have the kids, go look at it, because that's what me and Warren grew up in. It's a lot of freaking fun.
Yeah.
Whether you're a hunter, like you're super experienced and taught your kid everything you know, or they've never touched a bow, it is, for all levels, it's a ton of fun.
12 to 17, there's still, I think, and now I'm going to tell you one's left. I don't know that there's spots open in all of them. North Dakota, Missouri, Wisconsin, Montana, Pennsylvania, and maybe Michigan. So if you're near any of those states, go check them out. Raisedtofuldraw.com.
Yep.
Yeah, but that one's this week, I think.
Yeah.
So you got one day.
Yeah, you
right
wouldn't.
now.
And it's probably full. So
yeah,
that one you're toast.
You said
on.
Wisco?
Yep.
Very cool.
I can't keep track
All right.
of her. She's freaking.
So what
rolling.
did you just say? Did I just hear you say you're not going to do a wacky fact?
Yeah,
He said
there's
he's
no
gonna
point.
refrain.
Why you're not doing
I
that?
could have the best wacky fact there's ever been. He's giving me a red.
No, that's not true. I'll tell you
I'll
if
help.
it's legit or not.
Huh?
I'm here. I won't allow that. It would be a democracy.
Democracy. No, I will be fair though.
Yeah, when's
It'll be the same judging as always. Make it good, and it's good.
Okay.
He's refraining from a wacky fact because he doesn't have one. He hasn't even thought of it.
Well, I haven't seen a point in doing it when.
That's not
been
true. Don't.
on
But
one.
you're pulling a Liam.
Yeah.
You're coming up with excuses.
Lungs are the only organs in your body that will float.
I might have to give you a green because I would have thought that there were other things like a liver. I would have thought a liver would float. Kidney would float.
Maybe your eyeballs.
Are they considered an organ?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
Nothing
your
wrong with
your eyeballs are.
That's untrue. I might have to go back and click an X.
How?
Skin is considered an organ. That'll float.
Maybe not when it is.
Yeah, sat there for an hour.
No, I mean what I'm saying, when it is a living
Living?
organism. Now, when it dries up and flakes off, yeah, it would probably float.
What kind of organ can I take out and test this?
Your left lung is smaller than your right lung to accommodate for your heart.
Okay, so
You don't count. You have medical history.
But shouldn't you have known this?
No, I knew it.
You went through all kinds of paramedic classes and everything.
Yeah, they didn't tell us that there was a smaller lung than the other one because it didn't. When you would need to give somebody CPR, you still gave them CPR.
Sorry, Nick. I'm going with no on this because I'll just match that to a nut.
What?
Everybody has a smaller nut than the other nut.
Why would you people think your freaking lungs are different size?
Same shape.
because you
It's
have a
also an
heart
organ.
there.
Well, maybe we just discovered no man's land.
What?
Maybe deer have one lung that's smaller than the other, and so if you don't get enough penetration on the one lung side on that no man's land, there's nothing there.
It's in the middle of their freaking body.
What is your problem today? You need some mushrooms because you took straight.
The
grumpy
illogic here is painful.
This
All right,
is-
are you done? 1 for 2.
No, I think I'm gonna look for some more.
All right,
So why don't you just wait?
get her going.
We getting out of here?
Wrap it up.
All right. Well,
Oh, hold on.
No, he's doing
Hold
it just
on.
to be a jackass.
Wait. Yeah, he's right.
as I said at the beginning of the podcast, I apologize. This one I'm going to apologize again. It was fun, though. I mean, I've enjoyed talking about this because I do think that this is and again, this is our opinion, but our opinion comes, or at least my opinion is coming from what I've seen, what has happened, not necessarily what we've seen on YouTube or somewhere like that. So just be careful to not go too far in either direction, that it is an absolute guaranteed. If you hit them in one lung, they're going to live, or you hit them in one lung, they're going to die. There's always something else that can happen. So anyhow, long story short, it's been a good podcast. So thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next week.
Bye.